I'm Emily Foster, the FireSmart coordinator for Prince Edward Island. And today I'm just going to talk to you a bit about the program and some of the information and resources that are available. So first off, what is FireSmart? So FireSmart Canada was a program developed in Western Canada about 20 years ago. And this program was developed to help homeowners and landowners mitigate the risk of wildland fire negatively impacting either their property or home. So they were based on scientific evidence from previous fires in the wildland-urban interface. And FireSmart empowers residents to take small steps around their homes and properties to reduce the negative impacts that wildfires bring. So FireSmart Canada was developed on 7 disciplines, the first being education, emergency planning, cross-training, vegetation management, legislation, development, and interagency cooperation. So all of these disciplines work together to make the program as effective as it is in every province and territory across Canada. So why do we need FireSmart, and why is this a topic of conversation? So as we move our homes and communities further into the wildland-urban interface, we increase our risk of being negatively impacted by wildfires. So climate change is changing the odds of fire, and as we've seen last year and previous years before, wildfires are increasing in numbers and severity across the country and world itself. So why are these wildfires increasing in numbers and severity? This is due to a number of reasons, but some of the top being fire suppression efforts. So fire is not a natural part of our ecosystem anymore as it was maybe 50, 100, or however many years ago. We've gotten very good at putting out the fires and suppressing them, so they're not used as kind of a mitigation effort in the forests. We have an increase in wildland-urban interface areas, so areas where built fuels intermingle with natural fuels, vegetation, and our homes and communities are nestled further into the forest. We have denser and more flammable forests, more fuels available due to the top reasons, and hotter and drier days, which are affecting the fire seasons. So as I mentioned, the wildland-urban interface is that area where human development meets or intermingles with the natural environment. So it involves both wildland fuels and built fuels. We see 2 variations of this, the wildland-urban interface and intermix. So in photo number 1, we have the interface where there's a clear separation between the forest, vegetation, and the community. And then in image 2, we can see that there's more of an intermix where the structures intermingle with various wildland vegetation. And this here is an older map. It's from 2016, but this is a map of the Eastern Atlantic provinces and the wildland-urban interface areas. So we're a very dense area for the wildland-urban interface. A lot of us live in or around wildland fuels. So this is just a little example from, almost 10 years ago now. So it's definitely more purple to date, but just gives a good visual. So how does wildfire threaten the urban interface? There are 3 ways that homes or structures will ignite by wildfire. The number 1 being sparks, embers, or firebrands. Another way that homes are damaged or ignited by wildfires are extreme heat transfer, as well as direct flame. These 2 are not as likely to damage the home unless the vegetation is within that first 10 meters where it's going to produce a lot of fuel and potentially damage the home or structure. Whereas the sparks and embers can fly up to 6, 7 kilometers and ignite further combustible materials. And just a few photos here, but the radiant heat or flame contact can be from vegetation to structure or structure to structure once that fire enters a community. And then a few more examples here of the firebrand caused ignition. So last year in some of the wildfires in Nova Scotia, they were documented to have been able to travel 5+ kilometers and ignite further combustibles outreach of that main fire. So we do see interface fire suppression challenges, and this is due to the fact that both wildland firefighters and structural firefighters are both exhausted, and resources are exhausted during these interface events. So they often overwhelm all available resources, and this is just a photo from Tantallon, Nova Scotia, May 2023, so a year ago. There were 151 homes lost, a number of others damaged, and this totaled $165 million loss. Some fire suppression challenges from Slave Lake, May 14th, 354 homes and an $800 million loss. So firefighters are overwhelmed when it's a structure to structure spread. And then we have an example here from Fort McMurray. There were 2,400 homes lost and a $3.6 billion loss from this fire as well. So these were all very devastating events within the last 10 years in Canada. So there were some takeaways from Fort McMurray, and it was found in the post-fire research that 81% of the surviving homes had applied some sort of FireSmart best practice. And 2/3 of the homes that were burned or lost during this wildfire were initially rated to be extreme risk. So FireSmart focuses on the home ignition zone, and this is the area within 30 meters of your home and structure. So it begins in that 0 to 1.5 meter area. That's the immediate zone. So they recommend that this area is a non-combustible zone with very little combustible material. Next, we have the intermediate zone, which is 1.5 to 10 meters out from the structure, and then the extended zone, which is 10 to 30 meters. So first off, the immediate zone, as I mentioned, is a non-combustible zone. So they recommend that a 1.5 meter from the ground level exterior of the structure outwards is a non-combustible area. So this includes not having mulch, bark, and those types of combustible and flammable materials close to the home. Next, we'll touch on the intermediate zone. So in this zone, they recommend that fire-resistant vegetation is planted and selected as rather than flammable vegetation, which is most coniferous species or any vegetation with needles or pines. They're extremely flammable due to the oils. They're soft, they'll burn a lot hotter and faster compared to deciduous leafy green species. So there are some hazards when we look at the gardens that can be around our homes and structures, but a FireSmart garden can still incorporate the nature and vegetation that we love and appreciate. So FireSmart doesn't mean getting rid of every garden on your property or getting rid of any vegetation around your home. It's just considering what to plant and where to plant it, and not planting the really flammable species right next to the home or close to the structures. These are a few photos from Nova Scotia's wildfire last year. In that first photo, you can see that the coniferous species that were there have completely burned and were incinerated, whereas the deciduous shrub there is still has some green on it, surprisingly. And on that last photo there, we can see that once that vegetation ignited, it eventually caught the structure on fire as well. They were able to suppress that fire and put it out and save that home, but if that vegetation wasn't there, that wouldn't have been a risk or some damage that would have occurred. And next we'll touch on the extended zone. So this is 10 to 30 meters from any structure or outbuilding. And the goal in the extended zone is not to completely eliminate fire, but to reduce the intensity of it before it does reach your home or a structure. So they recommend in the extended zone to prune the limbs of evergreen trees 2 meters up from the ground. And this is recommended to avoid or reduce the chance of a ground fire spreading up a tree. They also recommend that these coniferous or evergreen species are planted 3 meters apart wherever possible to reduce the density of these highly flammable species. And just 2 photos there of the high combustibility and low combustibility differences. Again, the vegetation with needles and pines are going to be much more flammable than the vegetation that's green, leafy, and holds more water. Some of the FireSmart programs that we have here are home ignition zone self-assessment. So I do have a few copies over there on the table, but this is a 15-question assessment that walks you around your home and property to assess any fire risk that may be relating to your specific home or structure or yard around the home. We also have a neighborhood recognition program. So this recognizes neighborhoods and communities who all work together to complete these mitigation efforts and who are actively working to be fire smart and fire resistant. We also have hazard assessments, our advanced home assessment program, where homeowners and individuals can reach out to a trained home assessor and receive a detailed report on the wildfire risks specific to their home. And we have a Begins at Home app, which is the same 15 questions on the printed out version, but it's you can do it on your mobile device, iPad, or any electronic. And we also have Wildfire Community Preparedness Day, which, funny enough, is happening today. It happens every first Saturday of May. And it is happening right here in Miscouche. The fire department is hosting a barbecue, free debris drop-off, and information session for individuals who want to know more information about FireSmart or want more resources. And it's a great opportunity to bring the community together to really become resilient and increase the likelihood that your homes and communities will survive a wildfire if it did come through an area. And thank you. That's all I have for you guys today. I know it was kind of a quick and brief overview, but if you do have any questions or concerns, please feel free to come see me over there, and I have lots of printed resources as well. Thank you.